Hi everyone, I'm Airier. Today I'm going to punch myself in the face. I mean, we're going to watch Super Eyepatch. Well, this is The Simpsons is good again, and I've been told there's good stuff coming soon. It's just that we have to get through watching my childhood be crushed in front of me while reminding me about all the good times, just so that when the end finally happens, it hurts that much worse. You know, the first half of this video. No, it's not even the first half. It's like the first third of this video, which is just pain. Yeah, the last bits of this have kind of kicked my ass. I'm aware of what I'm getting into, and people keep saying it gets better, but this is the internet, and while my community is really nice and kind of honest and good at not telling me spoilers, they also are here explicitly to see me suffer, because they have explicitly told me so multiple times in multiple videos, and, well, they were looking forward to this, so that should be all the indictment I need. Yeah. More importantly, I'm going to repress everything I just said because it makes it easier to move through life. You guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up and let's get started. So what is coming next?
Simpsons season 33 began airing.
So we're moving to a new season, I hope.
2022. It's been 3 years since season 3.
Wait, 22? I must have misheard that.
And airing May 22nd, 2022.
Yeah, no, it's just 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago. Sorry, I just had a sudden hit of, wow, time is moving.
It's been 3 years since
it feels like 2020
30,
was just last year.
In that time, humanity has gone through several major changes,
You
not
think?
least of which is the global pandemic. An event that, according to writers of The Simpsons,
How did that affect them?
has caused several major changes in how the show is made. And even watching the first episode of season 33, which is not even an episode I particularly enjoyed, something definitely...
Okay, what the hell is up with that? That is weird, and I can't tell if that's just something he put in because it's a weird blur, or there's just an actual growth on Marge. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by the weirdest things.
He felt different. It was the first episode I'd watched for this video where Marge felt like Marge, and everything she did made sense to her character.
Oh, so there's no like random cheating?
The more I started to feel those changes.
Springfield High School prompt book stage. Oh, she was in a play.
Everywhere. And particularly in the comedy itself. To show what I've done here, I want to compare two Police Chief Wiggum jokes, one from season 30 and one from season 33. In the season 30 joke, Police Chief Wiggum gets his belly rubbed and acts like a dog. It's silly, that's the joke. But now, compare that to this joke from season 33, where Wiggum and Lou have been called to a party where a group of teenagers have allegedly gotten drunk.
Thirst Trappist Hunky Monk's Ale. Wait, did Homer become a artisanal brewer? Admittedly, considering how much beer he's drinking, he's probably a good example of exactly what not to do, so he should know exactly what to do to make other people do what not to do. It kind of makes sense.
Drunk.
If I just breathalyzed all these teens, they're all blowing 0.0.
Dear God, they're already dead!
I love this joke, and I do because of how it could.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was getting so used to all of the, oh, this is considered humor moments that he was talking about all the previous seasons. That the obvious joke here is that he thinks zero is bad, but it means this is actually non-alcoholic. Thirst Trap. It's not actually what you think it is. It's not actually alcoholic. Oh, that's actually a smart name. Admittedly, it's kind of like, you know, zero alcohol Guinness. It actually tastes good. Because there is so much flavor in Guinness, you don't realize there's no alcohol until you don't get drunk. There's also just as much calories as regular Guinness, so yeah, there's a reason it's called an entire meal in a bottle. I mean, I don't care either way. It's just cheaper, which matters a lot. But sorry, just the joke was funny. I actually was amused. Oh God, we spent the last half hour not enjoying it, just having it run on my face. It's actually happy. Sorry, I'm actually getting a little worked up over actually not hating this. Oh, that shouldn't hit me nearly so hard, but it really does.
Puts to the core of Wiggum as a character.
Being stupid.
The comedy at the heart of Police Chief Wiggum isn't that he's dumb, but that he's this person gifted with massive amounts of power and authority, but is so incompetent, so unable to comprehend even the most basic scenarios, he ends up being a danger to the people he's meant to protect.
Yep.
This is Marge Simpson. My husband is on a murderous rampage. Over.
Oh, well, thank God that's over. I was worried there for a second.
That's what
Again, old Simpsons nice. It's just over the top stupid. And then just I'm gonna love this. I'm actually gonna love this. Please say this is where it starts getting good.
What's great about this joke, it's not Wiggum being zany, it's Wiggum being
Wiggum?
A combination of this character and this scenario and comedy.
It's a character as
organically
funny
growing
as a character
from
as
that.
opposed to just
In
a
other
source
words,
of
it's
joke.
a joke that requires time, thought, and setup. And in general, that's what I found with season 33. It feels much more careful with its comedy. In fact, when I
So wait. Let me get this straight. What he's leading up to is because everyone was stuck at home with nothing to do, the Simpsons writers were finally given time to actually do comedy. COVID made The Simpsons good again. It literally took an international disaster to fix The Simpsons. I want to say I'm bullshitting on this, or that I'm jumping to conclusions, or just being an idiot on the internet, because that's never been a problem before, but I can't say I'm wrong, and it makes sense. Why does it make sense? It shouldn't make sense.
performed that same joke count across season 33 and 34, that feeling was proved correct, with the average joke count dropping to just 65.
Still a lot.
Half that of season 30, which is a massive change that
half.
remedies what was, to me, the biggest problem with modern Simpsons. And the result is
Overflow?
jokes that have the room to now actually say things about their stories and characters.
I should probably clarify, when he talks about the joke abundance and how it was crazy and it built into this crescendo of just white noise he just kind of fell into a daze with, I'm exactly the wrong kind of person, so I'm heavily biased against it, just because when it comes to jokes in a lot of media, I like it where there's negative space, where there's open moments where you can stop and reflect and just get a little bit of scenery, like those scenic Simpsons clips that he put up from those various YouTube channels. I think in a previous video, YouTube channels and blogs and everywhere else, apparently there's massive amounts of media around it. I like that when you could get the joke and then just see the reflection of it. And if they're starting to do this, even just to the fact that they have half the jokes, because you can stop to think for half a seconds, which would be really 2.5 seconds, but whatever, I'm not good at math. I kind of like that because I do appreciate it.
For example,
Probably more than
take
most.
This joke
Wait,
from
we actually get
episode
the dad?
9.
When's Mommy coming back? She's not. Why not? She's dead. I don't know, hold him.
This entire episode is about Homer processing the childhood trauma of losing his mother and how poorly that trauma was handled by Abe. And look at how succinctly this joke distills not just that entire storyline, but the entire history and relationship of Abe and Homer.
Wait, what? How to yell so kids will listen. Motorized Train, my annual how to parent issue. Oh God. Expecting nothing. Lonely man chili when no one cares if you fart, and vodka. I'm sorry. There are actually funny things in the background if you pause.
Abe as this single father who lacks the emotional intelligence to understand what his son needs from him, and Homer as this scared child who grows up to resent Abe for what he couldn't provide. All that captured by a single punchline. This is what happens when the show actually has time to develop the ideas it raises and draw comedy from them.
And even good
and
moments.
It's this change combined with another major change that results in some far more unique and memorable episodes.
Wow.
According to Lonnie
Kinda wanna
Steele
see that.
Sosthand, writers on season 33 and 34 were given far more onus in the writing process, with most writers
Most of us get an episode a year, and we get an opportunity in that episode to really say something. We shouldn't waste it. So there's a single episode for every writer, so every writer is different. I guess because it's episodic, that's not really as much of an issue with other story forms where you don't need continuity as long as you understand the basic characters, which would be the change right there, that they were allowed to understand the basic characters rather than crap out something that uses these characters.
being responsible for one entire episode a season.
What was
the
it
idea
before?
being that this would result in more individual and personal episodes.
Oh, so that was the change. So they were actually given an entire year for the... They were given an entire year to write a single episode. You know what? No, considering that roughly a minute of dialogue is 3 to 5 pages, depending on how big the type and how fast you speak. And they spoke very fast in The Simpsons, comparatively to how most people speak. Most people speak really fast, but you have to slow it down to this level when you're talking publicly. I don't, because I'm an idiot and I forget. I should. I don't. So if that's roughly 1,000 words for a minute, 20 minutes, 20,000 words. And depending on how refined it is, it could go anywhere from being, this is easy and we're just pumping out shit, which is only what they did before, to significant amount of rewrites to get those 20,000 words to exactly what you want. And the more polish you put on it, the more it takes, because writing it takes a while. Editing it is the majority of the process. It's not getting the draft done. It's getting the draft fixed. That is actually a respectable amount of time for the amount of editing they might have put in over the course of an entire year, because they were finally allowed to do so. Huh.
And I think you can really feel that, and particularly in the episode Lisa's Belly, written by Juliet Kaufman. The episode begins with the Simpsons going to a water park where Bart and Lisa catch a virus and are prescribed steroids, which causes them both to gain weight.
Oh. Just for clarification right here, I can never let my wife see this because this is her lived experience right now. This actually happened to her. Caught something, medicine, bloated. And it gave her massive complexes. I'm only talking about this publicly because she's very open about this. If this was a hidden shame, I would say nothing. But this is something she's open about. But if she ever saw this episode, she could hear me in the other room. Have you ever met someone who hate watches things because they know they're going to hate it? I have a feeling the Simpsons are going to be on in the house soon. Oh, no. Love you, dear. I'll bring the chocolate to make up for it.
While Bart's able to pass off the new mass as just being buff, Lisa has a very different experience, and particularly after a single devastating comment from Marge when she refers to Lisa as chunky. From here, we spend the majority of the episode exploring how this one wayward statement festers inside Lisa. A hurt that manifests both in her attitude towards her own body as well as resentment towards Marge. And Marge in turn completely unsure of how to handle Lisa's weight gain, leading to some genuinely pretty funny jokes.
Oh?
Oh my god.
Oh, wait. What did it say on that mug? Sorry, they've been putting jokes in and I'm kind of actually curious now. World's greatest dad. Oh no.
Oh my god. Marge did the one thing no parent is ever supposed to do. Acknowledge what their children look like.
This episode even ending...
Well played, Simpsons. Well played indeed. Oh, okay. That it's not nearly as funny as that, but at the same time, I think I'm right now in that loopy zone where I got so used to the shit. I was going into this expecting more of the shit that even moderately okay jokes are hitting harder than they should. I'm definitely in the humor overload phase, which is a very nice change of pace. So I'm not going to try and change it.
On this bittersweet note about how our parents inevitably fuck us up a little, even despite the best intentions.
That's what therapy's for.
How universal an experience that is. You know, I remember when I was a teenager, I was watching Pokemon, and my dad walks in, and he told me that I was too old for this. And
yeah, I've got
he
that.
asked me, was I going to spend the rest of my life watching cartoons?
Yes.
Well, who's laughing now, Dad? Who's laughing
Hell
now?
yeah, man.
I hope you recover from your operation. Get well soon. If this was season 30, a message that personal and nuanced would have been obliterated in a landslide of punchlines, just like we saw in Bossy Riot. But you can see how the deprioritization of joke quantity combined with the more personal, individual-focused writing.
Hell, they're allowed to say something other than a joke a second, which even in its own right is impressive. They're allowed to touch on personal things, because before it seemed like they wouldn't be allowed to say something that actually hit home. It'd be, no, Someone might not be okay with this. We can't say something that might have even 1% of, I don't know, that wasn't entirely a joke.
Makes for a very different show, but
It's a show as
there's
opposed
a
to a collection
third
of random
change that is
gags.
arguably just as important. One we can see in episode 12.
What?
Episode 12 begins with Marge and Homer
What happened to her hair?
realizing that their marriage is stuck in a rut, and so they take a romantic getaway.
Oh no. The Saffron Togetherness Center. I just see this and I go back to the fake psychic videos Super Eyepatch Wolf did, and I'm just thinking, oh, they're going to something horrible. Hopefully the joke is that they don't actually make it there and something else happens.
Only for things to go awry and they get lost in the wilderness
Called it.
naked. And immediately, that's a pretty zany setup.
They
There are
actually
a few
did that?
Comedic scenes of Marge and Homer struggling to survive in the wilderness, but then 15 minutes in, everything changes.
What?
They begin to hear noises outside their hut and realize that they are being stalked by something, only to be attacked by a wolverine. And
Oh shit.
look at how this thing is animated. It's gnashing teeth, it's razor-sharp claws, it's violent movements, resulting in this shockingly tense scene where you can really feel the danger Homer and Marge are in.
In The Simpsons. I mean, if this was early season, I wouldn't be surprised to be like, ooh, they're trying something different. Here, I can see why the thumbnail, why the title, why the article written that the title was based on, stolen from, is accurate. This is not something I expected. This is an actual TV show with plot, as opposed to gag, making you gag. Yeah. Just, one, being daring enough to try the entire nudist and very much probably referencing Alone and Afraid or Alone in the Wilderness. There's a show where you're out in like random locations and you're naked and it's like, oh yeah, hey, there's sex appeal. But then also it's a lot of starved people not actually having fun, and it really is kind of fucked up. I have family that love the show and put it on obsessively. And it's honestly not my thing because I don't do outdoors. I know if I went outdoors, I die because hell, I can't even cook when there's an easy instruction. If it's more than microwaving it, I can't do it. Hell, if it is involving microwaving, I'm still not allowed to cook it because my wife has said I would destroy the kitchen. It was one time, twice, and I'm never going to admit to the third one.
And you're sitting there waiting for the punchline, waiting for something silly to happen to relieve
And it probably works
tension.
better because of that.
And you wait, and you wait, and it never comes. The danger only ending when Homer, his club caked in blood, bashes the creature to death.
Damn.
And Marge collapsing into each other's arms, having gone through this traumatic events, but survived it. Because it doesn't matter if they're swaddled in blankets watching television or fighting for their lives in the wilderness. All they need is each other. The final two.
Holy shit, that was actually just good. I mean, I know I'm repeating myself here, but it's still kind of shocking considering all of the mental torture the previous half hours did. Oh dear God, that was actually painful. I might actually want to just pick up the season and never acknowledge anything between that and episode or season 7. 5? 5. Let's go with 5. Yeah. I mean, sometimes they would do blood and gore stuff in Treehouse of Horror because it's the Halloween episode. We're expecting something a little weird. But just in a regular episode? That's more license than I thought they were even allowed to do. I'm pretty sure their contract in there for a long time just said, no. Apparently not.
2 minutes of the episode is spent on a nearly entirely wordless sequence of Homer and Marge just walking back to civilization
I would
together.
love that.
And it's beautiful. It's the first episode in decades that made me understand why Marge and Homer are with each other. You don't write an episode like this unless you really give a shit about these characters.
Because they're
Even more than
characters,
that,
not
this
just
episode represents
props.
something special in season 33. It's an episode that doesn't feel like classic Simpsons, but is compelling in its own
It's
right.
just good
Which brings
TV.
us to the third major change with this season.
Anime
A
fans?
directive series showrunner Matt Selman gave his writers to not worry about what made The Simpsons successful in the past, but instead to experiment and push the show in new directions. And you can see that here in how light the
mayflies.
episode is on comedy, how viscerally the danger to Homer and Marge is presented, and in how earnestly it depicts them in its final moments. And the result is one of the best Simpsons episodes in decades. Great, not because it feels like classic Simpsons, but because it doesn't.
Yeah, and I get that. The not actually catching anything in the river. That, yeah. I have family that can go in there, throw a line with no bait on it, and they'll catch a trout. There's not even supposed to be trout in the river, and they catch it. I go into a stocked river with the bait specifically designed for the fish, specifically overstocked into the river, so they bite everything because there's no food. So they're just literally chomping on rocks, and I will get nothing for hours until I give up, give the handle off to my brother. He sticks the wrong end in, and they start swallowing the rod. I realize I could sound wrong, but frankly, at this point, it doesn't really change how I'm just looking over here going, you dick. I'm not repressing any jealousy about that. It's completely open and well known. That's it. So the change is basically they stopped trying to be a comedy sketch show. They stopped trying to be SNL and focus on being TV, being a drama, being a long-running franchise with well-established characters. That's the kind of plotline I expect more out of an anime that has a humorous bent, but is just more focused still on telling a story first. As opposed to a lot of more American-specific TV where it's like, hey, cram as many dumb jokes as you can to see what the audience will actually take, because the only way to survive is to do the previous seasons where it's joke. Have I mentioned the gag point? I think I have.
However, there is one other episode.
What?
An episode that takes not only that idea of a new and different Simpsons and blasts it into the fucking stratosphere, but combines it with both season 33's character-focused comedy as well as its more personal, unique style of story.
Funny
and,
and
is
personal?
one of the most insane and impactful Simpsons episodes in existence.
Impactful. Now that's a very specific word, because a lot of the episodes are, oh, this makes a lot of sense. This is relatable. This is kind of insane that they were allowed to do that in the first place. As in Homer beating a honey badger, trying to kill him to death who was actually threatening. And that wasn't the most impactful. Like, is this the episode that didn't just defy the trend but shattered the narrative?
Everything about A Serious Flanders is
A Serious
usual.
Flanders?
Out of the 750 Simpsons episodes, there are only 4 two-parters, and A Serious Flanders is one of them.
It's a
and
two-part
builds
episode.
around a simple question. What
Oh, is this based on Fargo? I never saw Fargo, but I'm pretty sure I've seen this style of intro.
happens when you take
no.
the Simpsons' moral, virtuous, church-going neighbor, Ned Flanders,
This is a
and put
true
him in a
story?
situation where being good is no longer an option. The plot centers around Flanders finding a large sum of money, which he donates to an orphanage in memory of his equally virtuous grandfather. What Flanders doesn't know, however, is that this money is property of a very old, very dangerous hitman, flanked by 2 ruthless assassins, one of whom is a terrifying French woman and the other a more accurate representation of an Irish person, because while we do not give
Wait, they can do accurate representations? I thought you were supposed to intentionally Flanderlize every accent. Flanderlize. I can't speak to it. Why did I even put an L in there? I just realized I was talking about Flanderizing accents, and I'm like, hey, I'm Flanderizing English. Technically, that is also what you call speaking American.
a fuck about leprechauns, we are nearly universally capable of violent murder. These killers coming to Springfield.
That's the average group of 9-year-olds.
We are nearly universally.
Average group of Irish 9-year-olds. To be fair, I actually know a bunch of 9-year-olds who had these exact haircuts, and it was kind of disturbing, especially the bald one.
Capable of violent murder. These killers coming
So
to
an average
Springfield
9-year-old.
with the intention of settling their debt with death, setting in motion a chain reaction of increasingly violent events that feels less like an episode of an animated sitcom and more like the season finale of a prestige crime drama.
Damn.
It could be so corny if A Serious Flanders didn't fucking nail it. There are good jokes, it made me laugh, but more than anything, it's just genuinely compelling television. a tense, violent journey through Springfield as its different characters react to these new killers. There's one scene where the hitman is confronted by Fat Tony and his goons in a diner, and the entire scene just bubbles with this ominous tension before boiling over into a genuinely electric and violent shootout, trapping Flanders in these situations where he has to.
So they didn't just play it out as like, here's the jokes, Ned. They're actually involving characters in the world that make sense. I mean, with how he's been talking about it, I was kind of expecting it would be good, but actually using characters in scenes where they make sense. Usually when you bring in Fat Tony, it's some kind of joke about someone going to him in a way that doesn't make sense. He's not a threatening character. Hell, I didn't even know he was allowed to have a gun because usually he's too stupid and or portrayed that way to do anything like that. He's like the vaguely ominous guy in the background who's definitely the mob, but also is super stupid. Being threatening, having a confrontation with a hitman, having a shootout, they're giving characters a lot more room that I don't think even original Simpsons wouldn't probably do that, because it's outside the character to actually be even slightly competent in the style that they're mocking. And since they're not actually paying attention to the initial one, they're not worried about the initial Simpsons. They're not trying to be self-referential. They're trying to tell a story with the characters they have and staying true to the character. Damn. It makes sense, but damn.
Compromise his own morals in increasingly destructive ways. The episode even dismantling the very idea of Flanders' grandfather, the entire foundation on which those morals were built. Raising the idea that Flanders...
The irony here is when they tried to deconstruct a character the previous time, it was to the Skinner version that was replaced and destroyed the character. That was just ignored and played off as stupid. But if they're deconstructing the entire character here, they're not saying that, oh no, this is a completely different character and everything he knew was wrong. It's that everything he knew he thought was right is wrong and being forced into something else. That's how a deconstruction should work. It's showing someone in some way, in a way that they believe is true, twisting their reality so everything they thought they knew is wrong, and watching them either fall apart or pull it together and seeing how they react to that situation. That's how a deconstruction usually works. Although deconstructions usually when they fall apart, as opposed to other storylines, which I cannot seem to remember the title of or the names of or the trope name, where you see them confronted with everything, fall apart, and then pull themselves back together, which is more, I guess, a redemption story. Sometimes, usually.
is only able to be Flanders because he's never encountered true evil.
Oh.
It is a genuinely great piece of television, not just because it is in itself compelling, but because it asks a wider question. What is The Simpsons after 30 years on TV, and what can it be?
Wait, was that literally just a canon episode, not just one of those random gags they throw away, where Marge literally watched the shootout happen right in front of her and a man got brutally murdered in arm's reach? And she knows Ned's... Oh, shit. That's not just dark. That's... I can see why this is the episode he brought out. That's... And they're not just playing it as a joke, either.
I scored this episode a fucking 9. I never expected that from starting this video. It is evidence that there is life in New Era Simpsons, and so I added the scores of season 33 together and averaged them out to discover that season 33 of The Simpsons has a final average score of 6.4.
What? Huh?
Oh. God, well...
Why? Because he's been going on about how they've changed so many things and made actually interesting changes. Why? Because there's probably other episodes with other people writing other ways that were still back to it, because he's only highlighted the ones that did stand out. Showing change is possible, not that it has completely changed. That makes sense.
Well, that's disappointing. Okay, well, season 33 has some of the best episodes of The Simpsons in
It
years.
also has?
That average is unfortunately dragged down by other episodes. Episodes that lack the individuality and nuance we know the show is now capable of, and fall back on the kind of zany comedy and storytelling we have become all too familiar with. In one...
I will give them credit here. This is not zany. This is actually how you deal with puppies. Constantly, man. It's all over the point. It's not even specifically Rottweilers, which they're supposed to be. No. Puppies. Kittens too. They will just find a part of your body they like and then they'll try and devour it. But they have small teeth. hopefully they haven't come in yet. If as soon as they're in, they're sharp as hell and they're everywhere. But no, this is pretty accurate. I'll give them a pass on this one.
In one episode, an abrasive football player is adopted by Marge and Mr. Burns, and if you...
They're making a joke of the blind side here, and if it happened... No, this happened before, during the pandemic, so the entire... Oh, yeah! The football player's story for the blind side was also completely wrong, and he didn't realize it, and now he's suing them. It kind of destroys the story.
If you think I explained
Probably
that
check with that.
poorly, you should watch the episode.
Wait, it gets
The crux
dumber?
of the comedy coming from these zany jokes about this grown man being treated like a child. The episode being about Marge and Mr. Burns, but also failing to take into account their relationship in history, which is one of the most interesting of the entire show. And the
Yeah.
result is an episode that limps along with all the passion and enthusiasm of that time
Chugging
Usher
brandy?
recorded an Easter message for the Xbox YouTube channel.
Happy Easter, Xbox.
What?
That's the entire video. Other
What? Wait. Oh, 3 months ago. Sorry, I got thrown off by the fact that Xbox is dead. Or in the process of dying, and they're probably just going to be swallowed up like the Dreamcast. Also, if you weren't aware of that, I am so sorry I'm the one breaking the news that way. Maybe I'm wrong. But also, it's, yeah. I'm sure Sony having dominance in the console market because they're not really directly competing with Nintendo because their platforms are completely different at this point. And one's a console, one's more or less just a really awesome handheld. I'm sure that won't go bad for any consumers who like, being gouged less than they already are.
episodes such as Fat Tony becoming Maggie's godfather,
What?
or a revelation
Oh,
that
the
Brian
Godfather's
is
the
actually
Godfather.
intelligent, poke at interesting ideas but don't do anything with them, ultimately falling into the same problems that plagued season 29 and 30, leaving season 33 in its weaker moments feeling just as scared and identityless as the show has been for decades.
So just because they gave the writers leeway doesn't mean all the writers were able to use it, or they were just doing the assignment given to them and writing the same thing they always had.
Placing the entire crux of this video on season 34, the most recent season.
Would they be
And it is within
able
this
to do
season,
this?
There is something I could have never foreseen when I started this video.
I will not try to cram 750 characters into the opening credits. What? Oh, that's why there's so many different I'm sorry. I literally just had a stupid moment there. I thought characters but there's not that many layers on the screen. And it took me a while to remember the characters is not just when you're typing. Have you ever had that little bit of confirmation that you're chronically online to the point where even though you're an English major who has a master's in fiction, you forget characters aren't just things, but could also involve the thing you went to college and spent way too much money on? I feel like I've disappointed someone, and myself isn't the only one. I'm not sure who that other person is. But when they find me, they're just going to go and walk away, and I'll know exactly what they mean. And it's going to hurt.
There is a Tetsuya Naito
Wait, what?
has a cursed finishing move. The Stardust Press.
Oh,
is a
he's
top
jumping
rope
over to-
spinning body press designed
Oh,
to
yeah,
get
the Golden Lover
audience
Trio,
as
right?
excited as
Duo.
possible and rally them behind the Stardust genius.
Why did he jump over
However,
here?
Despite this, the crowd never cared about Tetsuya Naito. His entrance met not even with boos, but
Oh, no, wait. This is not the guy who was part of the Golden Duo. It was the guy who then came back as the liver let die? No, that's not the phrase. The guy who just didn't give a fuck. It's like, yeah, fuck all y'all. I'm doing my own thing. And then because he didn't acknowledge them, they all went crazy for it, which is just weird. But also literally how a lot of cool people are perceived as being cool when they're just too cool for school. Oh, I just dated myself saying that. Oh.
something much worse, indifference, to the point that Naito left Japan. Years later, he
I remember
would
him talking
return
about
as
this.
the
Yeah, it was in the
ungovernable one,
Golden Lovers
now
video, though.
cold, callous, and unruly,
Technically his first one.
refusing to appeal to the crowd or perform the Stardust Press, his way of rejecting the audience who had rejected him. Naito would find
And that's probably why he's bringing it in, because if they're... Wait, if Super Eyepatch Wolf is bringing this up right now when he talked about this exact thing and it applies exactly into The Simpsons, what could The Simpsons do at this point, considering how many sharks they've jumped over, to find a similar situation of indifference? I don't know, because they've done so many weird things. Anything they do would feel like just The Simpsons at this point. As crazy as it is, as zany as the best episodes of the previous season were, it still was The Simpsons, unless they just randomly start in the future and move on without acknowledging it and just basically having a new show with the same name.
Massive success.
Even that would be
in his
weird.
New ungovernable persona. However, as the years went on, in rare moments of extreme desperation, Naito would try and wind back the clock and attempt the Stardust Press. But every time, it cost him dearly. The only time he's landed the move in 8 years, it failed to end the most important match of Naito's career. His purgatory for trying to relive the past. This is a video about The Simpsons.
He's going to do that at least one more time, because the rule of 3 definitely implies it. That things are more powerful when you do it 3 times.
Season 34 of The Simpsons began airing in October of last year, and it was around
Wait.
that time that renewed interest.
Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. The entire thing there is you finally found a way out. You finally found a way to get better. But he brought up Naito because that specific aspect of going to try and relive the past is what made you fail. And you keep trying to do it. So even though they found the way out, this season's probably going to have a lot of good moments that are actually really good. But they're going to have some horrible ones that are so self-referential that they just fail to be Simpsons because they think they're being The Simpsons, but they don't actually understand the assignment. Oh, I just need to keep watching because I don't want to be right.
Interest in the show became palpable, and I was actually kind of nervous hitting play on its first episode. So I wanted to come to season 34 saying it was a resounding return to form for The Simpsons, but the truth...
Which form?
...is more complicated. Episodes like Homer buying Marge a Peloton bike could not be a more perfect poster child for the issues that plague modern Simpsons. An entire storyline pulled from a Twitter meme that was popular for maybe a day, 6.
Oh, God. Yeah, I forgot all about that. I was like, what? The bike? You mean how, like, that guy from Not Sex and the City died on it? And that was also the only time you ever heard anything about the show because Sex and the City was so... whatever the new show is so boring and generic that the guy dying... because apparently issues that I don't really even care enough about to find out, was the only point that was worth talking about? No, apparently it wasn't. It was just the stupid ad that no one gave a damn about.
6 months before
Or
the
shouldn't
episode
give a damn.
aired, resulting in an empty, borderline nonsensical plot where scenes just kind of crash together like a video essay whose points
Actually
don't
crashing.
properly lead into one
Or
another. Homer
crashing.
gets a little brother, and it's just full of the kind of zany, nothing comedy that at this point I am so sick of talking about. Episodes like these made me question what I was even doing making this video. But there's also other episodes. Episodes that take all the positive changes made by season 33.
Stepping up to The Simpsons, whatever bitch with Shauna. What? Oh, it's a YouTube video just being an asshole.
And take them even further. There's an episode built entirely around Duffman's relationship with his estranged daughter, and
What?
Duffman is an interesting character in 2023. Introduced in season 9, Duffman represents an era of corporate marketing where brands would basically scream at you until you bought something, as opposed to, well, whatever.
Oh, I forgot about those stupid What's Up commercials. I hated them so much, and I repressed them. I forgot about them. I was able to escape them. God damn you, Super Eyepatch Wolf, for making those things come back into my memory. I did not need that. I don't want that.
Whatever they're doing now, that is the comedy at the heart of Duffman's character. He is this
lack of.
living, breathing corporate mascot able to cram his catchphrases into any situation, no matter how inappropriate or mundane.
That brown patch needs a little H2O. Oh, yeah.
I love Duffman, but repeating that joke for 30 years is less so beating a dead horse and more so Tien tri-beaming that horse into the center of the earth for 3 decades. I promise that's the last Dragon Ball Z reference. To the
I hope he's wrong about that because I would love more.
point that by season 30, that joke is beyond stale. The comedy drained from its bones like Android 20 absorbing
Called it!
life for But this episode takes that concept that this character doesn't work anymore
And plays
and
it
makes
straight.
that his story. The comedy coming from his good-natured but hopelessly inept attempts to come to terms with modern society and reconnect with his daughter.
Some chicks are guys, and that's okay.
It's okay, Dad. Baby steps.
What I love about this idea is that it's The Simpsons looking at the parts of itself that doesn't work,
So he's
asking
trying to be a
itself
good person?
difficult questions and doing
shit, him
something
without the mask.
meaningful with them. And I felt that a lot with these episodes, like episode 14, an episode entirely about Carl. If you haven't watched this episode
He's had
but have
episodes?
enjoyed The Simpsons, I want you to pause and ask, who is Carl? Think
Isn't he just the drinking buddy who also works at the plant with Homer? I have no idea what he actually does there. Also, I could be completely wrong here because I'm pulling a blank really hard.
of any defining character trait about him beyond the fact that he works in the power plant or stands beside Lenny, and you will soon discover there is no answer to that question. There was even
Smithers has more characterization than one of the characters who's probably in most of the episodes that involve going to the bar, which is most of them. Or used to be. I have no idea if they keep doing that now.
an episode in season 21 where the entire premise was no one really knows anything about Carl. He has no identity. But in this episode, Carl is forced to come to terms with the fact that he doesn't know anything about who he is or even his own culture, leading him on a journey of exploring his own African-American heritage, which I don't really have any place commenting on, but the channel Toonerific Tyreek has an excellent video going in depth on this episode.
That's kind of fascinating.
How successful it is in doing that. Link in the description.
Okay, it's a bit of an aside, but this moment right here,
anything about Carl,
like, I want to see what was on the plate there for a second. I know it's stupid, but that actually looked kind of amazing.
He doesn't know anything about who he is or even his own.
Why the fuck are the Simpsons animators so good at making food that looks absolutely amazing? I don't even know what half this is except for the fried okra, in which case that shit is amazing. I can't stand okra, but as soon as you fry it, it becomes one of the absolute best things ever. Prawn or shrimp, maybe gumbo. I recognize this. I know I've had it. I have no idea what it is. Didn't know when I ate it either, but I liked it. Ribs? Maybe. I have no idea what that is, but that actually, I didn't think this would be an episode where eating it, or I want to eat the screen. I usually don't have that issue with Super Eyepatch Wolf videos. There's a lot of other ones where they talk about food and it hits me, but right now my stomach is actually deciding. It should remind me I decided to skip breakfast. I don't know why I did, but I did, and now it's a mistake, and I am paying for it.
We saw in season 33, deprioritizing joke counts in favor of stories that feel real and written by an actual.
Oh God, if they handled this in a previous season with how they crammed joke. Oh, wow. Sorry, I just had a terrible thought of what this episode would look like if they handled it badly. Oh, I'm not going to say anything because there's really no good way to say that is YouTube appropriate.
Person drawing their comedy from genuine life experiences, something you can see across multiple episodes this season, but the part of season 34 that honestly just kind of blew me away were the episodes that take that third improvement, that wider question about what The Simpsons is and can be in 2023, and builds on it even further, resulting in some of the wildest and most experimental episodes the show has ever
Was that the
done.
intro?
Episodes that dissect and question what it is to be a TV show.
Oh
that's
shit,
been
he actually
running
went to the
this
past.
long, pulling apart The Simpsons and reassembling it in
Oh, they're making fun of Family Guy. There's no way that's not the case.
strange and bizarre ways. Maybe the best example of this being episode 3, in which two hackers steal secret footage of The Simpsons from Fox that destroys the entire canon of.
Yeah, it's the V mask. It's the anonymous group, except it's Homer's face with the little French mustache and the goatee soul patch combo.
of the show.
I kind of want that to be the
these
mask that comes out.
ludicrous twists on the characters that undo
Whoa,
the reality
okay.
of what The Simpsons is. Lenny is revealed to be a figment of Carl's imagination. Martin is actually an adult cop whose dedication to his undercover beat at Springfield Elementary is destroying his marriage. And the all-purpose incidental guy, you know, this guy,
Found your car keys, big shot. Want that toasted honcho?
is revealed to actually be an insectoid life form that is slowly taking over the town.
What?
For as far as season 33
That was probably the Treehouse of Horror episode right there, because that's the kind of weird horror levels that I'd only expect there.
pushed
Kinda cool,
what The
though.
Simpsons could be, episodes like this take that idea to a whole other dimension, and it's not the only one.
They're just
Another
throwing a
takes
lot of
place
things.
entirely through a browser window covering an online scandal involving The Simpsons. Yet another is set in an alternate reality where Bart doesn't exist.
Oh.
And yet another sees the majority of its episodes spent on Homer crashing through a windshield in slow motion as he reflects on his life, his kids, and his relationship with Marge and her disapproving father, even
The entire episode took place in that. I mean, it's basically A Wonderful Life, just spread across two different episodes with different themes. One being the self-reflecting, the other being an alternate reality without someone. Those are time-consuming that would never happen before. Also, that is classic Simpsons drawing in a very new Simpsons form, and it looks really weird because of it.
presenting to Homer the idea of what it might mean to be a parent.
Mousetrap. I recognize that. Yeah. Also, I loved and hated that game. Loved because it was fun to watch it when it's done. Hated because you had to clean it up, and that is never. Just no.
Disliking your child's partner. It even has a magic talking fairy played by Lizzo.
That was a fairy?
Everyone loves her, right?
Who's Lizzo? Some things may have changed over the course of making this video. I'm assuming I've heard Lizzo in reference to music. I don't know nearly enough about her to know exactly what he's talking about here, but I'm assuming bad shit happened.
However, for as interesting as I find a lot of these episodes, there is one that blows them all away.
The Lenny and Carl
An
situation?
episode that takes the concept of reimagining The Simpsons in a direction that is so wild and insane, and it's called Treehouse of Horror.
But that's
3.
Honestly, I can keep going today. I'm just choosing to stop here because I've got mixed emotions. It was great. He pointed out some amazing episodes that were actively amazing. And if I can get a DVD of just those, I'd buy it right now because I have apparently horrible impulse control, which is probably why I am in the gacha games. But I like that. And I thought they were fascinating. I would love an entire season of that. And then he pointed out that there was also all of the previous drivel, just trying to force feed you comedy into an overload of gags to the point where, you gag. Or more likely get lulled into a state of non-existence where you have discovered Zen mentality through sheer overwhelming what the fuckery. Because apparently, why not? One with nothing, also known as the amount of skill put out with some of those episodes that were just like a void of existence that somehow got perfected to the level of media entertainment, but also at the same time derived from nothingness. There's a joke in there somewhere. But just like those episodes, it's not going to ever come out and no one really should care to find it. It was great and I loved it, but then also it reminded me that no, there's still shit. And it seems like that's kind of what he's going for, that it's good again, but not completely. It's like someone recovering from a light case of thinking that their own feces tasted good. Really big problems with everything I just said. And recovering is good, but also the fact that it implies they're not there yet is terrifying in its own right. That's how I feel right now. I'm watching that. And it feels like, admittedly, the same level of stupid as anything on the Learning Channel. Everyone else who just cringed at having the actual name of TLC read out like that. Yeah, you're welcome. I'm just pushing that suffering on. I don't know what to feel right now. And that is technically an improvement over the last few times we've looked at this, where it was just pain. Only pain. Nothing but pain. So I'll take it. But I'm also kind of scared that that's the extent of where it's going to go, that we're just going to see the not decline, but just polar opposites of characterization going back and forth between really damn good and no. Just no. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Super Eyepatch Wolf's usually pretty good about pulling things together in a way that is fun and entertaining and hopeful by the end of his videos, even in the most disturbing things ever. If you're thinking of a specific game that is roguelike and has very set patterns, I have no idea what you're talking about. That wouldn't be a thing. He didn't make a video called The Cruelest Game. That would be completely accurate. More importantly, though, I'm just going to go decompress to try and figure out what my thoughts are at this point. I'll see you guys in the next one. Hopefully we'll finish it then. And if not, well, I'll splice together to make it the final video and see what happens. I'll see you guys then. Adios.